We are counting down the 10 biggest American airplanes ever built, a ranking of forgotten giants that pushed aviation to its absolute limits. From experimental bombers with crew bunks and walkable wings to double-deck transports, flying boats and modern record breakers, these machines rewrote engineering history before slipping out of public memory. Most never made the textbooks, but each left a mark on everything that followed. Which airborne behemoth takes the #1 spot? Let us begin with number 10. Boeing's XB-15 took to the skies in 1937 as the largest American land plane built at the time, stretching 149 feet from wingtip to wingtip and measuring 87 feet long. Designed for missions that could last over a day, the XB-15 introduced unheard-of comforts for its crew: sleeping bunks, a full galley, and even a lavatory, features that seemed more at home in a train car than a bomber. But for all its ambition, the plane was hampered by 4 underpowered engines and never reached the performance its designers hoped for. Instead of delivering bombs, the XB-15 was converted in 1940 into the XC-105 cargo plane, shuttling supplies and personnel through the heat and storms of the Panama Canal Zone during World War II. In the end, it was quietly scrapped in 1945 at Albrook Field. Yet, the lessons learned from its immense frame and long-range design fed directly into Boeing's next breakthrough, the B-17 Flying Fortress. The XB-15's legacy lives on in every heavy bomber that followed, even if the plane itself faded from memory. Douglas set out to build the XB-19 as a flying laboratory for ideas that seemed almost impossible in 1941. With a wingspan stretching 212 feet and a length of 132 feet, the XB-19 was twice the size of the B-17 and could haul up to 37,000 pounds of bombs. But what truly set it apart were the tunnels running inside its massive wings, large enough for crew to crawl through and check engines while in flight. The main landing gear used tires 8 feet tall, each one dwarfing the men who maintained them. The XB-19 required a crew of 16, plus 8 relief members, all supported by bunks and a full kitchen for missions that could last more than a day. Yet by the time it first flew, jet technology was already making giants like this obsolete. The XB-19 never saw combat. After years as a testbed, it was scrapped in 1949. Only its enormous wheels escaped the cutter's torch, now scattered in museums, a silent reminder of a bomber built for a war that had already moved on. Lockheed's R-6V Constitution stood out as a double-deck flying whale, stretching 189 feet across the wings and 156 feet from nose to tail. Designed during the final years of World War II, it was built to carry 168 passengers, or 92,000 pounds of cargo, across oceans at high altitude. Thanks to a fully pressurized, air-conditioned cabin, an innovation that echoed the ambitions of luxury ocean liners more than the cramped transports of the era. The Figure 8 cross-section packed 2 full decks into a single fuselage, allowing coast-to-coast flights with comfort unheard of in military aviation. Yet the promise of the Constitution faded quickly. Only 2 were ever finished for the Navy. Both prototypes were plagued by constant engine problems and staggering operating costs. Navy memos from the early 1950s flagged the expense, more than $1 million per flight hour in today's money. Repeated proposals to convert them for tanking or civilian use failed to overcome the hard math. By 1953, the program was cancelled and both aircraft were scrapped. Not a single piece survives. The Constitution's vast, pressurized cabin was a glimpse of what might have been, a bold experiment that proved too costly for its own era. The Martin JRM Mars was a giant among flying boats, stretching 200 feet across the wings, wider than a Boeing 747. Built during World War II, it was designed to haul troops and cargo across the Pacific, but its greatest fame came after the war ended. In 1949, a single Mars set a world record by carrying 269 passengers on a single flight, a feat that stood as a symbol of its unmatched capacity. Only 7 of these massive aircraft were ever built, and when the Navy no longer needed them, 4 were sold off in 1959 for $23,650 total, a fraction of their original cost. Rather than fade away, the Mars found a second life in the forests of British Columbia. Converted into firefighting water bombers, these flying boats could scoop up 7,200 gallons of water in just 32 seconds, then drop it over raging wildfires. For 47 years, the Mars flew mission after mission, protecting communities and forests across Canada. The last operational Mars retired in 2024, closing the book on a career that spanned nearly 8 decades. Today, these legendary aircraft rest in museums. Their hulking hulls are a reminder of a time when the world's biggest flying boat became a hero on land and water. Convair's XC-99 was a logistics marvel, built to carry more cargo farther than any land-based aircraft before it. Rolled out in 1947, this double-deck giant offered 16,000 cubic feet of cargo space, enough to swallow loads that would have overwhelmed its predecessors. An internal elevator moved supplies between decks, while the landing gear spread across 28 wheels to support its immense weight. Powered by 6 massive piston engines, the XC-99 could haul more than 100,000 pounds of cargo or transport 400 troops in a single flight. During the Korean War, it became a lifeline, ferrying B-36 bomber parts and military equipment across continents, sometimes flying around the world supply missions logged in Air Force records. The XC-99's design did not just move cargo, it moved expectations, setting the stage for every heavy airlifter that followed. Only one was ever built, serving from 1949 to 1957 before being retired. Today, the XC-99 sits disassembled at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, its restoration an ongoing battle against time and corrosion. Volunteers and museum teams work to save what remains, hoping to preserve this towering link in the chain that leads from the piston era to the modern age of global airlift. For those who believe history is worth saving, the XC-99's story is still being written. Northrop's YB-49 swept across the sky in 1947, a black triangle with no tail, no fuselage, just a single, seamless wing stretching 172 feet from tip to tip. 8 jet engines buried in the wing gave it a ghostly silence compared to the roaring propellers of its rivals. Test pilots marveled at the aircraft's futuristic stability and the way it sliced through the air at nearly 500 miles per hour. During early flights, engineers noticed something odd. Radar operators struggled to track the bomber as it passed overhead. The smooth, blended shape reflected little signal, an accidental preview of stealth decades before the word existed. President Truman wanted the world to see America's leap into the future. In April 1948, he ordered a YB-49 to fly low over Pennsylvania Avenue, rattling windows and turning heads as it soared above the White House. But behind the spectacle, trouble brewed. The Air Force favored the lumbering B-36 for its range and proven design. In June 1949, a YB-49 crashed during a test flight, killing all crew aboard. Soon after, every remaining airframe was ordered destroyed, melted down in front of Jack Northrop himself. He watched in silence as his life's work vanished, years before the flying wing would return as the foundation for the B-2 Spirit. The YB-49's radical vision was buried, but its shadow stretched far into the future. The Convair B-36 Peacemaker stands as the largest mass-produced piston aircraft ever to take flight. Its wings stretched 230 feet longer than a Boeing 747, and the enormous airframe was powered by a combination that became legendary among its crews: 6 giant piston engines turning propellers joined by 4 jet engines for extra thrust. The phrase 6 turning, 4 burning echoed across airfields whenever a B-36 taxied out, its engines roaring in unison. Designed during the final days of World War II, the B-36 was built to fly from American soil to targets across oceans and return without refueling. With a range of 10,000 miles, it could circle the globe, carrying a bomb load that topped 87,000 pounds, more than any other bomber of its era. Between 1948 and 1959, 385 B-36s rolled out of Fort Worth, Texas, filling hangars and runways with their massive silver wings. Each one was a floating fortress, bristling with defensive guns and packed with enough fuel to cross continents. Yet for all its power, the B-36 never dropped a bomb in combat. The world changed faster than the Peacemaker could fly. Jet, bombers and intercontinental missiles soon made its piston engines obsolete. Most were cut up and melted down within a few years of retirement. Today, only 4 survive. Silent sentinels in museums, their vast wings casting long shadows over the past. The B-36 marked the high watermark of piston-powered flight, a final salute to an era when American industry could build giants that spanned the sky. Howard Hughes set out to build a flying machine unlike anything the world had ever seen. The H-4 Hercules, known to millions as the Spruce Goose, was a colossus of wood and ambition. At 320 feet, its wingspan stretched longer than a football field with both end zones. 8 stories tall and weighing in at 400,000 pounds, fully loaded, the Hercules was designed to carry entire armies, 750 troops, or even 2 Sherman tanks at a time. All of this was built almost entirely from wood, not by choice, but because wartime restrictions kept aluminum and steel out of reach. Hughes and his engineers turned to a new technique called Duramold, layering thin sheets of birch and resin to create a frame strong enough to defy gravity. The project ballooned to $23 million, which is over $300 million today, drawing criticism from Congress and the press. Hughes poured his fortune and his pride into the plane, refusing to let it become a national punchline. On November 2nd, 1947, with reporters and skeptics watching from the docks in Long Beach, Hughes climbed into the cockpit. Engines roared, the hull skipped across the water, and for 26 seconds the Spruce Goose lifted into the air, reached 1 mile and 70 feet above the waves, then returned to the water. That single flight was enough to silence doubters, but Hughes never let the world forget his achievement. He spent more than $1 million every year to keep the Hercules flight ready, long after the war and his own health faded. The H-4 Hercules held the record for wingspan for 72 years, and today it rests in the Evergreen Aviation Museum, a monument to human obsession and the belief that no dream is too big to build. Lockheed's C-5 Galaxy stands as the largest American military aircraft in active service, a machine built to carry the unimaginable. Its wings stretch 222 feet, supporting a body that measures 247 feet from nose to tail, longer than 5 city buses lined up end to end. Step inside the cargo hold and you will find a space wide enough for an 8-lane bowling alley with room to spare. The C-5 can haul up to 270,000 pounds in a single flight, enough to move 2 M1 Abrams tanks or the gear for an entire battalion. The Galaxy first took flight in 1968, answering the Air Force's demand for a true global lifter. Since then, it has quietly moved the backbone of American military power, delivering everything from helicopters to humanitarian aid, often landing at remote airstrips where no other plane can go. Over its 55 years of service, the C-5 has seen constant upgrades. Today, 52 C5M super galaxies remain in the skies, each one fitted with new engines, digital cockpits, and reinforced wings to keep pace with modern demands. The C5's versatility has led to some of the most unusual missions in aviation history. In the 1970s, engineers explored the idea of launching intercontinental missiles from its cavernous bay, a testament to the aircraft's sheer size and strength. Whether lifting satellites, tanks, or disaster relief supplies, the C5 does its work far from the spotlight, rarely recognized by anyone outside the military. Yet for those who rely on its reach, the Galaxy is more than a plane. It is a lifeline, a moving monument to American ambition and engineering. Its legacy is not measured in headlines, but in the quiet, relentless movement of cargo across continents year after year. Nothing in the sky compares to the wingspan of the Stratolaunch rock. At 385 feet from tip to tip, this twin fuselage giant stretches farther than a full-length football field, end zones included. The numbers seem almost unreal. 6 engines borrowed from Boeing 747s, an empty weight of 500,000 pounds, and a wingspan that shatters every record set by the giants that came before. But the Stratolaunch was not built to carry passengers or drop bombs. Its mission is to launch rockets, using the sky itself as a runway to space. The story begins with Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft and lifelong aviation enthusiast. Allen dreamed of making space more accessible, and in 2011 he founded Stratolaunch Systems with the idea of air-launching satellites from the world's largest airplane. Engineers at Scaled Composites in Mojave, California, took on the challenge. They joined 2 complete 747 fuselages with a single all-composite wing, the largest ever built. The result was a flying platform designed to carry rockets slung beneath its central wing, lifting them to 35,000 feet before release. After years of construction and ground tests, the rock finally left the runway on April 13, 2019. Its first flight lasted 2.5 hours, circling the California desert as engineers watched every move. Paul Allen, who had poured his fortune and vision into the project, did not live to see it fly. He died in October 2018, just months before Rock's debut. Still, each test flight since has carried his legacy forward, proving that the quest for bigger, bolder wingspans is not just about size, but about reaching new frontiers. Today, Stratolaunch continues to test and refine the rock, aiming to launch hypersonic vehicles and space payloads from the stratosphere. Only one exists, but its impact is already clear. The wingspan race that began with the XB-15 and crested with the Spruce Goose now finds its ultimate champion in a plane designed for the space age. The Rock is more than a record holder. It is a bridge to the future, showing how the dream of flight keeps growing one impossible wing at a time. Across all 10 giants, one truth stands out. American aviation keeps redefining what is possible, even when the world is not watching. These behemoths, some vanished, some legendary, prove that every leap in size or ambition sets the stage for the next. Forgotten or not, their daring shapes the sky above us today. Which of these giants surprised you most? Let us know in the comments.